who's telling you this is a freak.
Huh?
It means that the guy who is telling you this is a freak.
Probably. He's a Russian Jew. He's my girlfriend's boss. He's a veterinary technician. His name is Leonid Gurevich. And he told me to say hi to you. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Hello, this is the Old School Bogart coming to you live from Wizard World, Columbus, Ohio. I am here with a man who needs no introduction whatsoever. A person who most people would know as Checkov, but we know him as Walter Koenig. How are you doing today, Walter?
I'm doing quite well.
Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yes, and I was waiting for you to make a mistake so that I could correct you, but you didn't give me the opportunity.
Okay, that's because I try to be respectful with people that I admire their work. And of course, I love you for Star Trek. But you do many other things in the comic book world. You're known for writing comic books. You're also a collector. And you have a project out right now called Things to Come. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that new project you're doing?
Yeah, it's a graphic novel about vampires in the apocalypse, and they're the only sentient beings alive, and they don't know why they're here. They don't know what their purpose is, what they're supposed to do, what their responsibilities are. It's a very introspective story about conflict, internal conflict. In that regard, I think it's quite different from most vampire tales.
So what inspired you to do a more horror-based story, as opposed to sticking in the more sci-fi fantasy medium?
Well, I was trying to find something that would have a market, that would draw attention, and a story that at the same time that I could get behind, that I could support intellectually, that I could create something that was a personal statement.
Which has to be freeing, correct? Because you've worked for studios, you've worked for so many people, so to do your own project must be the most enjoyable thing for you, correct?
Yeah, it always has been. I did a film that I wrote and produced and acted in called Inalienable, and it's been on DVD for the last couple of years. Over the course of time, I've written for television, so I've written 3 books. So all of that is my personal comment on life in one way or another.
Which is very informed. I did want to say real quick, I like how you did the fan film of Gods and Men, for the Star Trek universe. What was that experience like, working for amateurs who just wanted to make a fan film and they found it? I mean, how was that overall experience?
Gods and Men was more professional than it was amateur.
Okay.
All of the actors were professional. We had people, the director was a professional. Our budget was very low, which we suffered a bit on that but it was, everybody conducting themselves in a very professional manner, and it was a really good experience, better than I anticipated. Going in, I was doing it sort of for a friend, Sky Conway, but then once I got because I didn't just want to be Checkov again, and then I discovered that it wasn't just Checkov. It's really kind of like an alter ego, a different character entirely. So that was rewarding. That was gratifying. I'm glad that I participated.
Did you basically just read off the written page, or did you give any input? Were they receptive to any ideas you had?
Well, generally speaking, they're receptive to ideas you have, me or anybody else. But I felt that the written page was fine.
That it was good enough?
Yeah, and it was not good enough, it was good. And it was, I think the actor's first responsibility is to the written word. And the writer's word, sure. So I had no problem adhering to what they...
Well, if nobody has seen it, it's called Of Gods and Men, Star Trek. It's a very, very well-made fan film. It's almost not even a fan film. It's almost legitimately another chapter in the Star Trek franchise. So real quick on a separate note, I have to ask, you collect a very kind of specific object, and you have a huge collection of them, and I'm talking about the little books. The big little books for children. How did you get started collecting those?
Well, they date back to the late 30s, early 40s when I was a kid, and I was collecting them then. And of course, they were all tossed out. Everybody has one of Disney's evil women in their household when it comes to this, and it's generally their mother. threw it all down the incinerators. So I learned that when I was off in college that all my collectibles were gone. And back in the middle '60s, I started collecting again, recapturing my youth and my childhood, or an attempt to do so. Although why I would want to do that, I have no idea, because it wasn't that much fun being a child.
So how many are you up to? How many individual big little books do you own?
I haven't counted them.
You haven't counted them?
But there's about 600.
Wow. Okay. One last thing I want to say before we wrap this interview up. I saw you on Shatner's Wanderers. And as most people know, there's a lot of friction inside the Star Trek cast or whatever. But I just, this isn't more so much of a question as just a statement. Good for you for holding your own with that man and telling him what you honestly think in a productive way. I mean, your give and take. I mean, like, if you could just give us, I mean, you don't have to be too personal. Do you have a relationship with him outside of just being in the industry? Have you ever been friends with him? Have you ever actually, gone to maybe say like Shatner had a party and you just went to the party as a friend? Or is it more because you were on Star Trek, you just kind of keep on talking to each other?
I think the latter is pretty much it.
Okay.
We've never really established a personal relationship. I mean, he's respectful to a point, and we now treat each other as professionals. I'm not sure that was always the case, but I think he's a little bit more enlightened than he was, and understands things that perhaps he wasn't aware of at the beginning. But yeah, I don't have anything negative to say at this juncture.
That's fantastic. And you do have an autobiography, correct?
Yeah.
That is named?
It's Warp Factors and Robotics Guide to the Universe.
Okay, I have not actually read this book because I'm backlogged as it is, but it's the first thing on my reading list, and everybody should go out there and buy it right now. And you should definitely check out Things to Come. And Walter, thank you very much. It was a fantastic interview. Enjoy the rest of the convention.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Now, if we get a couple pictures.